With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us from Steve Calderon, who writes, what are your thoughts on John David Washington rumored to appear in Matt Reeves The Batman, possibly as Harvy Dent / Two-Face, while Jamie Foxx and Giancarlo Esposito, not to be confused with the NHL hockey legend, are also rumored to be on the shortlist for a major role. All right, thanks a lot for the question, Steve. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to be blunt with you guys here. This was not something I was going to bring up as a story, but then I kind of figured we needed to because of the sheer amount of people who have been writing in it and bringing this up. The whole reason I want to bring this up about the John David Washington, who was obviously the star of my second favorite movie of the year last year, BlacKkKlansman. I thought he was terrific in that. I thought the movie was fantastic. He's obviously going to be in the new Christopher Nolan movie, Tenet. He's going to be the star of that along with Robert Pattinson. This dude is blowing up. However, what I always tell you guys is when you see some kind of random story like this pop up, don't worry about how many sites are running with it. Look to where they're all getting that information from, all right? Look to where they're getting that information from. And in this case, all of these stories, all these sites that are running this headline, reports of, John David Washington, gonna be Two-Face and Batman and all this kind of stuff. It all comes from one place. It's a website that I'm not very familiar with called Geeks Worldwide. It's a website called Geeks Worldwide. That's where this is coming from. And let me say, before I go into what they're saying, I've got no problem with Geeks Worldwide writing this on their blog. I mean, we're going to get to their quote in a second here, but they're saying, hey, this is what we were told. So, hey, if that's what they were told, they got every right to get on their site and say, hey, we were told this. I have a problem with other sites who then are just desperate for headline material, then taking whatever any blog writes anywhere and making a headline out of it and confusing the audience. Anyway, over at Geeks Worldwide, who again, I have no issue that they wrote this themselves, but this is what they wrote, and I want to be very, very specific about looking at word for word what they wrote here. This is basically the entire article. I'm hearing, said the author of the post, I'm hearing Matt Reeves is paying close attention to BlacKkKlansman's John David Washington for a role in the Caped Crusader's new solo film. Character details remain under wraps, but we hear that Harvy Dent is one possibility. No formal talks have begun yet. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Again, let me emphasize, just so there is no confusion, I have no problem with some small independent blog, if they had heard something, sharing it with their own readers. Saying, hey, my readers, I heard this. Nothing wrong with that. I got zero problem with that in the world. But when you're a larger site, you've got to know that, okay, who did they hear this from? And what's their track record? And is this a major trade? Is this Deadline? Is this the Hollywood Reporter? Is this Variety? Is this one of the really reliable sort of trades and blah, blah, blah? And what is there to verify this and blah, blah, blah? And if there's not anything there, you shouldn't be running headlines. But what happens is one website picks it up and says, ooh, they're saying that, so I get to run it as a headline too. And then another website will do it, and then another outlet would do it. And then before you know it, the audience is seeing 15 websites pop up in their newsfeed all saying the same thing. Well, therefore, it's got to be true, right? This is what this reminds me of, guys. Back a couple years ago, when we just found out that they were going to be doing a Lion King remake, we just heard about this. Do you guys remember this? Stories started running everywhere that Hugh Jackman was going to be Scar. You remember this? It was everywhere. The headlines were everywhere. And then when you dug down and found out what the source was, it was from this obscure little site that I had never heard of. And they had a picture of Hugh Jackman at Disneyland one day. And they were saying, it's no coincidence Hugh Jackman's at Disneyland. We are hearing that Hugh Jackman is going to be Scar. It was an absolute, I don't even know if the little site exists anymore. And I don't know that it existed more than a month before this story came out. But it was an insignificant site. It had no traction, no following, But they wrote that, and all of a sudden, everybody ran with that headline. Hugh Jackman is going to be Scar. And it just caused a lot of confusion amongst the fans, because when it came out, Chiwetel Ejiofor, well, wait a minute, I thought Hugh Jackman was, I read the report, Hugh Jackman was going to be. Go to the source. Again, I got no problem if somebody hears about that and shares it with their own audience, but to then run it as headlines is questionable at best. Rob, is it impossible that John David Washington could end up in a Batman film? Completely just not impossible. The guy's blowing up right now. I mean, sure, why not? He's in a movie with the new Batman. And, Tenet's got him and Twinkleface. So we've got that coming. So sure, there's a possibility, but we knew that before this story came. My guess, though, is right now, Matt Reeves doesn't want to look like he's just picking up Christopher Nolan's sloppy seconds, and not only is he going to have Robert Pattinson as Batman, but he's also going to go get the other co-star from that same movie and put them together here. So I'm doubting the validity of this. It doesn't mean it's not possible. Look, this guy's huge right now. It's possible. But do I think anybody should be paying serious attention to this story? My answer personally is no. I don't think there's enough here to actually give it attention to. So anyway, Rob, you're reading about this. Are you thinking about something that maybe I'm overlooking at this point, or how do you look at this?
No, I mean, again, I totally agree with you. I mean, the Giancarlo Esposito thing, too, he's up for a role in the MCU or something. We're hearing that. But I think, look, John David Washington is on a rocket right now. His career is going out into the stratosphere. We've heard Matt Reeves has multiple villains in this movie. Unless Two-Face is a marquee villain the way Jack Nicholson's Joker was, John David Washington's not going to come in and play some bit part in a movie now. I mean, we saw him in BlacKkKlansman. He was great. He's going to be in Tenet, which is one of the most eagerly awaited films of next year. I mean, this guy's career is on a huge trajectory straight into the sun. And he's not going to do something, I think, that's not a front top-line role yet, for a while at least. I mean, he's a leading man. And that's what he's going to concentrate on. And unless the Two-Face role is the feature antagonist in this movie, it's not going to be him. And
I think the best thing you just pointed out there, and to your point, which I think is really astute, is the fact that not only do I think he's probably not looking to play a two-bit role, but considering that the comic book genre right now is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, it is the daffodil-filled fields to run and play with. Do you really want to come into whether it's the DC or the MCU as a small 2-bit character?
No.
That's going to be, no, you're going to hold out till I get to be a lead in a DC film, or till I get to play Green Lantern, or till I get invited into the MCU myself. It doesn't seem to make sense on that level, but hey, the new Batman film under Matt Reeves could be seen as a prestige move, I guess, but you're coming out of a Christopher Nolan film, so you kind of got that.
Right.
Aaron, you're looking at this. Would it make sense to you if you're John David Washington? And by the way, one of the best things about John David Washington's ascent to the heights right now is that it ain't on the coattails of his dad, because there are still a lot of people today who still don't realize that Denzel Washington is this dude's father, which I think is great, that a lot of people are recognizing how great he is, and they don't even realize he's Denzel's kid, which I think is awesome. Anyway, you're looking at this,
until
Aaron.
You just said it. So.
Oh, really? You didn't know that?
I didn't.
There you go. See, a lot of people don't.
That's great.
When you're looking at this situation, let's say you are, like John David Washington follows you on Twitter, Aaron. And he's like, I've got this decision. Do I want to do this movie? I don't know. Do you think this is something that's actually real at this point? And would it be something that he even should consider doing?
Well, I mean, I agree with Rob and yourself. I think that if it were a marquee role, then sure, it would be something to consider. But no, he wouldn't be doing it if it was a small pop in and pop out, just a shoot for a few days villain. Also, the wording of the original post, it just screams publicist's assistant might have whispered to someone, right. Like no formal talks have begun. Okay, then what are you even talking about? And Matt Reeves is considering him for a possible and sniffing around and maybe, and we hear it's possible. Like there's just too many we hear and possible, but without anything to ground it. They are informal negotiations, but for what role we don't know. We speculate it could be Harvy Dent, and here's why. That's a different wording. But just the way the whole thing is worded, it just sounds like the assistant of someone on his team said to their buddy who runs this site, "Oh, hey, do this," and you never know. Sometimes the seeds that are planted can blossom into full-scale trees. So maybe this could be something that that Matt Reeves wasn't considering, and now he is. Stranger things have happened. I always feel really weird about that when things really take root and then blow up, because then if that person doesn't get the role, it's just a little awkward.
Yeah, particularly when it was never even a possibility in the
Right.
first place. So, again, we'll just have to see how this turns out. Guys, what do you think? Do you think there's any, true possibility that Washington could end up being in the Batman film? Yes or no? What are your reasons for either yes or no? I want to know what you guys think. Jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right.